If you thought that logistics of raising a child were complicated before divorce, you're about to have a rude awakening. Hey guys, my name's Rebecca and this is Davie, and we talk a lot about divorce on this channel. But tonight we're going to chat a little bit about logistics of a parenting plan, what you should think about before you write up a parenting plan, some things that we've seen, some good, some bad, and some ugly, all about logistics. And you may not think that this is needed, but as we go, I think you're going to be like, wow, I'm so glad I heard that before. So you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things you're going to decide is what the custody arrangement is. Some sort of idea as to how are we going to share parenting time together, and with that comes switch days. The term that we found that we use all the time with the kids, and we hear it a lot in other families, that when there's a switch day happening, that's when the kids need to get pretty serious about what things they want to take to either house. Switch day logistics have a lot of things to consider. You have to consider first, how are the kids going to switch during the school year?
Right.
Where a lot of families choose to switch through the school. That means one parent drops them off and a different parent picks them up. That thing goes out the window when there's off time, vacation, holidays, and summer break. So you're going to have to think through, how do we switch each other? Because your work schedules are going to be impacted by that. And
Absolutely.
the kids' schedules are going to be impacted like that. So the idea of how a switch happens, where it happens, does it happen on somebody's residential property or a neutral site? If one parent moves far away from the other, where do you try to meet? In the middle, closer to one home, closer to the school district. Switch days, you're not just going to be able to write up a 50-50 parenting plan, pick one off the internet, have us work with you and build one, and then be fine. You have to figure out how, if there's modifications to the switches, if somebody's going to be late, how do we contact? What are the recourse options? And the one that probably is the toughest to deal with is, let's say your son goes to school and he gets sick within an hour of getting to school. What parent, even if it's a switch day, has to pick him up?
I told you it was complicated.
If the school calls one parent and that parent doesn't answer, does the other parent have to take a day off of work if it wasn't their switch day?
Listen, that's a big deal because finances become really important in a divorce and kids are expensive. You know that. So it's like, hey, if I have the kid on a sick day, I've got to figure out lunch for them. I'm the one taking off work, or maybe you have to travel a lot for work. So the kid's coming to my house. All of these things go into the fact that you are now in a business relationship raising a child. And so it has to be figured out. The logistics of a switch day and what all of that looks like are really important.
And it's a very nuanced situation, but it causes a lot of heartbreak. Parent says for work or for pleasure, they're going to travel after they drop their kids off at school. Okay? They drop the kids off, they go to the airport, they're gone. Kid gets sick. That's a negotiation you have to have. And that's a very small example that talks about how complicated these scenarios are. There's 10, 15, hundreds other that you need to think of and put in your parenting plan.
Yeah. So I think sometimes this can be really overwhelming. So hearing examples of what people have done. My parenting plan specifically states that when the children are dropped off at school, the other parent picks them up on switch days. If it's a day that there's no school, then we have an exchange that happens at the school parking lot. And it even goes specifically to say, as we follow the kids, like right now it's their elementary school, it'll be their middle school. And what that does is if one parent decides to move way out of the area, it doesn't mean that the parent who lives close to the school and typically has the residency has to drive however far on a switch. Maybe you both want to meet halfway because that feels right, but having that outlined in the plan before one parent moves out to Timbuktu is really important. We also like to answer a lot of these questions with high conflict divorce commentary. And so you may decide that it's uncomfortable for you to have your ex and potentially your ex's new partner bebopping up to your door to pick the kids up. You don't want them at your house. And so I think a lot of times for the kids, do the kids really want mommy and daddy helping with the exchange? Does that feel good or does that feel weird for the kid? And so you try to always look at it from the perspective of how are your children going to feel? How are you going to feel as the parent? The kids are important. You probably didn't do this in your marriage, which is put yourself first, is making sure that you're in a mental and emotional place that you feel safe and can best parent your kids. So switch day logistics, important for everybody.
My favorite phrase through all of these things and the entire parenting plan to think about is the phrase, plan for the worst, hope for the best. And it's okay to hope and pray and believe that the best, and you can just have conversations. But what we're trying to do here is plan you for the worst. And then when you encounter the worst, because even if it ends with a happy ending, you're going to end up back at some point in the worst part. So plan for that worst and hope for the best.
And as we outline this, I want to make sure we say this in every video. A parenting plan is not for the good times. A parenting plan is for the bad times. So there's going to be times within a divorce where things are going good and you like each other enough to at least parent together. And then something's going to happen and you're really angry with them and you still have to parent the kids. And we even use phrases now in our divorce like, I'm going back to the parenting plan on this because I don't agree with the decision that you made. And now I'm really angry. We're going to abide by the rules. So you can function out here until you've got to bring it back. And what you're outlining in your divorce is when you have to bring it back, worst case scenario, what you're going to do.
Right, definitely. Okay, so switch days are a big thing, all the logistics around that. But that's not the only thing you got to consider from a logistical standpoint. You're also going to have to think about vacation time because now, instead of having one family and one vacation or two vacations, now that is going to be doubled if both parents keep up the idea that, hey, we want to go on a family vacation or two family vacations, one in the summer, one in the winter. So talk a little bit about some of the things that people need to consider when they're putting the vacation stipulations in their parenting plan.
Okay, so 2 or 3 things that are the most important is to be really specific. Most divorces say each family can take X number of vacations a year up to X number of days. So that's what you're going to see, X numbers of vacations for X number of days. Now, where it starts to get complicated with logistics is, remember, your kids are on a schedule. So I may want to take a vacation the last weekend of July, but it's your parenting time. Is that allowed? Can you only take vacations on your parenting time? I can take it whenever, because here's what happens. And this is where you've got to be really clear on the logistics. If I take a vacation on your parenting time and I stack my days where it's like, we go on a 7-day vacation, but I had them 2 days before and 2 days after. Now my vacation turned into 14 days. And that's not healthy for the kids. I have a co-parenting therapist who's like, hey, your kids really don't need to go more than 7 days without seeing a parent until they're old enough to be like, hey, I don't care. And even then, that's hard for a kid to go without seeing a parent for a specific amount of time. So typically when you're talking logistics on vacations, specifically with the timing, you want to outline how many vacations, how long the vacation can be, and then make sure you bookend it. Each parent is allowed 2 7-day vacations a year, not to exceed 9 days without physical presence in the parent's home or something like that.
What about communication during a vacation? Is that important?
I think yes. These are big, happy memories for your kids. And those first 2 or 3 vacations where they go without you are heartbreaking. You've got to put your business hat on and think about logistics. You're in the business of making sure that your kids have a really incredible life. And they want to go on vacation with their other spouse. They maybe even want to go on vacation with their other spouse's new girlfriend or boyfriend. Making sure that you show up in a positive way and that the kid can tell you about the time they spent on this other vacation is important. So most parenting plans say you can have communication with the parent at least once a day, even on vacation. And so what that means is when they FaceTime you from the beach and everybody's there with the whole family picking up shells while you're at home, you've got to make sure that you're in an emotionally safe and regulated place that you can handle that, because it's coming. And the logistics around what time they can call, how often you can talk to your kids while they're on vacation is something that does show up in a lot of parenting plans.
You might need to get as detailed as to say the communication plan for the entire parenting plan is this during normal time, this on vacation time. Maybe
There
on
you go.
vacations it's in the morning as opposed to at night. Quick question I think will provide some clarity. We're talking about vacations, and I think built into that assumption is it's during a break time. What if a parent wants to take a kid on a vacation during the school year? Should the parenting plan address that?
You have to address it. And this is, again, you're in the business of raising kids. So you've got to make it a decision. Is it okay to pull the kids out of school or is it not okay? Most parenting plans, there's state laws that say kids have to go to school unless there's a doctor's note. So most parenting plans say the children are only to take vacations on the scheduled school breaks or during the summer. If your ex wants to take the kids and miss a Thursday, Friday of school and she's like, hey, I want to take the kids out. You're like, sounds like a fun time. Go for it. You can approve it. If there's a situation where kids are constantly missing school at one parent's house, then the other parent needs the right to say, no, school's important. We've got to get our kids there.
Does your parenting plan call for 30 days of notice, 60 days of notice, 15 days of notice? These are the things that are really going to upset somebody if they don't know ahead of time. What's also tough for the kids, imagine they know that in 30 days they're going on a vacation, but their parent doesn't know anything about where they're going, who they're going with, why they're going. that inhibits their ability to get excited and share the joy of going on vacation with the other parent. So the notice to go on a vacation isn't just to fit the parenting plan and do the absolute bare minimum. There's a mental health strategy built into that too, that sharing the information between two houses is what's important for the children. And so that notice is important. But then you have other questions about, well, if you go out of state, does one parent have an obligation to know the address of where you're going or just the city? Is there an obligation to let the other family know who's going on the trip or not? These are the
Logistic questions.
They are the ugly parts about realizing that you don't get to go on a vacation with your children, that you need to ask now so you don't have to feel the pain of it later. That fairly comprehensively covers vacation days, or hopefully ignites some ideas in people to go, hey, we got some specific vacation homes or traditions or rituals that we both want to take. Maybe there's a house that you guys both have access to that you go to vacations.
We've heard that.
Stays in the family. Oh, we always go to grandma's right before Christmas. You probably want to preserve as many traditions as you can, but also form your own.
I think when you're doing vacations, what I tell people is who, how, and where. Vacations are one of the most heartbreaking pieces of it. But knowing the safety of a child, where they are, if there's an emergency, let's say they go to Florida and there's a hurricane, you want to know, are your kids in the path of that hurricane in Florida? I think that outlining that in your parenting plan, keep it simple. You're not in control of who goes, but maybe you want to know, are you going with grandma? Those kind of things.
Yeah, it's tough. I'll just share that pretty transparently. The role of so many dads that play in vacation planning and driving the van and carrying the luggage. And then the first time you realize your kids are doing all that without you, without your presence or your safety or your protection. I watched you swallow a couple times as we were talking about vacation based on certain memories, and I got dusty a couple times too thinking about it on my side. This is knowledge you're going to want to know. God forbid anything happens on the vacation. What if the canceled flight turns into cutting into your parenting time?
Yeah. Right.
Thinking of ways to make up that parenting time to no one's fault but the airlines or the weather?
Good question on this. A lot of people ask, if you take a vacation on my parenting time, do you make that up? Typically, no. Again, you can put anything you want in your parenting plan, but think about how this would work. In July, both you and your ex took a vacation. If you decided to switch those weekends up, you could have 60 days of a messed up parenting plan, which deregulates the kids.
Yeah.
So what they always say is just try to keep it simple. If you take a vacation and it ends up being that you have the kids 3 weeks in a row, just know she's probably going to do the same thing where she has the 3 weekends in a row. It's always best to just keep it simple. Don't try to take a day and give a day and take a day and give away, at least in the
parenting plan, the idea of make up time. Whole general phrase, whether that is make up time for work travel, vacations, lost time for anything else. Do we write in some ideas for make up time on vacations or missed days or not? Or do we not? Do we just say, hey, look, we followed the plan and the other parent has a first right of refusal to watch the kids if they're available. If they don't take it, it's my time. That can impact not only custody arrangements, that can impact financial arrangements as well. If you say you're 50-50 and having the kids 80% of the time, that's certainly going to motivate the person who has the kids 80% of the time to go back to the other parent into a court of law and say, hey, I pay all their bills. I buy all their food. I pay all their electricity bills. I'm entitled to more money. So these are things you just absolutely have to think about. The last one, logistic standpoint, is holidays. It might be the only thing that outranks emotion and time and logistics outside of the vacation.
For me, vacations were a bigger deal than holidays. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I guess I should say that more clear. To me, the holidays are more triggering than vacations. That's tougher because for me, emotion, I think that was based on how you were raised. You were raised with different holiday traditions. Obviously, holidays just weren't as big of a deal for you guys.
Right.
For us, they were absolute chaos and mess and a very traumatic experience for anybody involved. But there's a lot of things you got to consider. Most parenting plans take all the holidays and special events, everything from Christmas to Columbus Day, and you talk about it. You basically either say, hey, we're just going to follow our 223, 225, 7, and 7, or we're going to recognize this as a holiday. Here's an example. Our son Elijah's Black. There's going to be some more Black-focused holidays that might be a bigger deal for him, especially as he gets older, than the white kids. That's just how it works. So every holiday that matters to you in your family, you want to spell it out and say, do we just follow the regular parenting plan? Or the other thing that happens is there's alternations.
Right.
One year, Christmas Eve is mom's. The next year, Christmas Eve is dad's. And you go odds and evens. Luckily, in our situation, we were able to get that synced up for the most part. But these are things you're going to have to consider in the holiday plan talk more about some of the things we've dealt with about drop-offs and pickups, not only in our personal experience, but others when it comes down to Thanksgiving Day. Both parents are entitled. Should this be a day where you're alternating? And if you're alternating, that cleanliness is okay. But what about if you decide to switch on a certain holiday? Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's a Christmas day. Maybe it's a Thanksgiving. What's that look like?
I have a lot of opinions on this, and that's just what I'm going to give, is my opinion.
I think what's important to people is they
Right.
need to hear you have a take, even if they
I
disagree
do.
with it, it's a solid opinion.
I do have a take on holidays. The first year that you're divorced, it's really difficult. Every holiday is big. You're grieving a loss. It's similar, if not worse than a death, when you don't have your kids on a day that you usually have their kids. So like Davie already said, typically in a parenting plan, think about a chart. There's going to be a list of holidays on this side, and does mom have them on even, or does dad have them on odd ranking years? So what gets really difficult is, let's say Thanksgiving is one that a lot of people split. Let's say on Thanksgiving Day, you have them in the morning, and then the parenting plan says at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, after you eat lunch at grandma's, they come to my house on the even year. And then on the odd year, it switches. Well, here's the problem with it. You never have a tradition. When those kids turn 16, you know what they're probably going to do? I'm going to my friend's house because you people have never established anything for me to want to be a part of. So my hot take on it is, it may be really difficult for you to never have your kids on Thanksgiving. Maybe you always celebrate the Friday after, and that's your tradition. And then 4th of July is yours and Thanksgiving is mine. Creating a life for the kids that they can really wrap their minds around and feels
Consistency.
like a consistent life, right? As opposed to, okay, at noon last year I was at mom's, and then that means breakfast next year I get to go see those cousins. And it's selfish. That's what I think.
The idea too that I think you miss too, even when you go through this plan, is you think of it in the context of what's good for mom and dad. Because you're fighting over the custody arrangement. We can do a whole segment just on switch days.
Right.
Switches are a lot of emotion in those kids.
There's so much anxiety.
Imagine this one in a 9-year-old's mind. Last year, I was at the big Thanksgiving, and now I'm at 2 Thanksgivings, and my parents, who really don't like each other, had to hand me off at the door.
Everybody's still partying at dad's house. We have to load the kids up, put their backpacks on, and send them to mom's house for Thanksgiving while everybody else is still here. It's heartbreaking, and you don't think about it until you're in it and you already have a parenting plan. Davie and I are passionate about projects like this and having these conversations because I don't want other kids to have to do that. So my best advice is sit down, look at the holidays that you think you can make special, create traditions around. Keep in mind that a holiday is truly just a day. What matters is the people that are in it, and try to do this from a way that the kids are going to remember and is special for them and you. Because the other thing that you're probably not thinking about yet is you may remarry. And when you remarry, that person's going to have their own holidays too. So these traditions that are really important to you, that you've brought in from your past life, whether it was your family or childhood or just things that you've created with your spouse, those all go away and they're going to get rewritten several different ways. What we want to help you do is create logistics around that so that you can have your best foot forward. And I think it's kind of important to note here that we say it with a little bit of, oops, wish we would have done it differently. Like a lot of people, I wish our parenting holiday plan looked totally different because we wish that we could pick. I'd give up Christmas morning every year to have every single Christmas Eve to share with the kids and have that be a tradition. There's just some things that you're like, darn it, I wish we would have done it differently. And I wish that there had been a video out there. Yeah. So that's what this is.
Yeah, at this point in the parenting plan with holidays, take less alternation and more just, hey, we'll agree. We'll always take Christmas Eve. You get Christmas Day.
And then we get Thanksgiving.
I would absolutely at this point do more than that because I think both of us are lucky enough to have surrounded ourselves with enough mental health to realize, like you said it a second ago, the holiday traditions that you're used to, you did for your family. That family only exists half the point of that kid's life anymore. That kid doesn't really care about your 60-year-old family traditions.
Or the third cousins they see once a year.
They want to know, am I staying at mom's house or dad's house tonight? And if I have to switch in the middle of the day, that's going to suck.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about holidays and triggers. Which holiday is the most triggering for you?
Christmas Eve.
Okay, say more.
Okay. So when I was growing up, We had Christmas Eve and it was great. And that was a big family thing, lots of church, like Christmas Eve service things. Then I got married and I no longer participated in any of my family's Christmas Eve traditions. I adopted all of my spouses. And there was like a big Christmas Eve game night that we did for the 10 years we were married. That was like a big thing that we would go do and we would celebrate. Well, I'm not going to his family Christmas Eve stuff anymore. And so that one was like, okay, I know the kids are all there. I helped with the tradition. At first it was just us, and then we brought our babies to it. And that was a hard one for me. I think I'll do it differently this year. I think the first Christmas Eve are some of the most traumatic memories of the entire divorce. The memories you have the best ties to are the potential for the biggest heartaches. What's the holiday that triggers you the most?
The first holiday that hit the hardest was Easter. And I think it was the toughest because the previous Easter, I cried in front of the kids because our marriage was failing. And I think we were already in-house separated by that point. I did the thing that you're not supposed to do, which is wear the emotions of your divorce in front of your kids. And I cried like a little baby. And I still remember, I'll never voluntarily buy one of those little cheap things that spins the eggs and colors it, because those eggs have some tears in them.
So sad.
I remember sitting there coloring the eggs, knowing I could not fake family. I could not perform for that moment. And I just lost it because I knew probably within the next day or week or whatever, she was going to move out. So I agree with you, now it's Christmas. Christmas was probably, as a child, the thing that was the warmest memory from Christmas. Is tough, I think, because in a child's mind, Christmas is so special. So
Right.
I would say it's the end of a year. There's a lot of magic that happens. There's so much build up with Christmas movies and Christmas music. And if Christmas is a traumatic thing for a family, you got to deal with it for months. And there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. Everything that you deal with, from the switch days to the vacation days to the holidays, it's just something you have to be comprehensive. Talk a little bit, we were talking about this episode about what to name it. Was it just travel? Was it kids? Was it switches? It is logistics.
Divorce logistics.
It is important to name it logistics because you have to think like a business in terms of drop-offs, resources, timing, time value, and financial implications. And then you also have to remember that you're going to be emotional the whole time. You're going to have to slug it out with somebody in the trenches, with your lawyers, or in private negotiations to get through that. But again, we do this whole thing so that you don't have to do it alone. You're gonna at times get conflicting information from family members, friends, therapists, and lawyers. And what we hopefully think that these videos do is allow you to think about things that you wouldn't normally have thought to think about, or
Right.
actually had the emotional capacity to think about. And that's why we do these videos, is to make sure people's awareness, ability is raised in the short term, so you don't have the pain in the long term.
Nailed it. And we have 2 more videos queued up to do later.